And I want to thank you for this privilege of speaking with you for this crisis intervention training here at My Journey and for the mental health community. First off, let me tell you a little bit about myself very briefly in the present moment of my life. I love my job at My Journey. It's an amazing fit. It's got incredible staff, co-workers, and simultaneously it's at times very easy, but at other times very challenging depending on the supportive scenario and situation that I encounter. At times I'm a teacher. We're just finishing up some self-esteem workshops where I've taught numerous self-esteem modules about identifying negative core beliefs and dissolving those to increase healthy self-esteem. Very rarely in emergency situations. Sometimes I played the role of somewhat of a medic, but mostly the main role I play is a friend and a mentor to the mental health community, the members here at My Journey. Sometimes they're going through things that I've sort of graduated from or have experienced, and I can help them with techniques or tactics or just support in getting to a place where they want to be. So because of that, from an empowering perspective and the best job in the world, basically for me, experience, I'm in a very good spot in life. And one of the categories of profession that got me to this spot was law enforcement, was police officers. And this leads me to the positive pivotal moments. Now, I've had numerous very solid examples of encounters with police officers where I was in a crisis situation because of mostly my mental health or substance use in the past. And I don't have time to talk about all of them, but most all of them were handled incredibly well. And in fact, all the ones in Michigan were handled exceptionally well, honestly. And the one I'm going to talk about happened in a couple months from now, exactly 3 years ago. So this was November 19th, 2019. And just very briefly, I was living in Niles at the time, and I was going to go to a mental health meeting in Benton Harbor. So at the time I was experiencing excessive substance use with alcohol, and I'd been drinking very heavily the night before. Not that morning, but there was still some lingering intoxication, so I got in my car and I drove to Benton Harbor, which was an unfamiliar city to me at the time. And I parked my car and I was walking around in my pajamas trying to find this mental health meeting. And I never found the meeting, and I was very lost in life at that very time, at that day, on November 19th. I was lost in the city, I couldn't find the meeting, but also in life I was very much lost. I was on psychiatric meds that was conflicting with excessive drinking, and nothing was really working well for me. And I thought I could describe myself in one word. It wasn't distraught, it wasn't disheveled. The word that most fit was I was a bit chaotic. There was something chaotic about it. And somebody, or at least one person, saw me in that state of chaos and called law enforcement. So I was on foot at the time, and I rounded a corner and there was a police officer. And there was a female police officer, and she brought me into her vehicle and gave me a breathalyzer. And it was the first, last, and hopefully only breathalyzer I ever got, but it was because of the late night drinking the night before, still at or above the legal limit. And this was the positive pivotal moment. With the tremendous authority that she has, because police officers have a tremendous authority. Sometimes it's used too little, sometimes it's used too much, sometimes it's used just the right amount. And she used that authority in a way that empowered me. And she chose to put me on the medical support train. She brought me to, at that positive pivotal moment, she brought me to the medical support train of Riverwood Mental Health Center. And I met with a key member of my medical team. And literally the next day, on November 20th, it was November 19th at the time, on November 20th, I started Sacred Heart Rehab for 2 weeks. And during that time, I was literally the most enthusiastic, committed, serious, focused student during the rehab, because I knew this police officer had given me a chance. She had looked at me in a way, in an empowering way, a compassionate way, that was giving me this opportunity. And I knew I couldn't blow it. I had to recover effectively, if just for that, and for my own sake. So that's an example of taking a medical solution in a crisis situation that led to a very positive result, very positive impact. And at times, just out of my own experience, legal action definitely is the ideal course of action to take if someone is too disruptive or something like that. Just many months ago, we had one member here who was, I think it was universally agreed upon that he was one of the more aggressive, sort of hostile members. And we learned that just a couple months ago, I heard word that he was arrested for assault and battery, and that seemed to make sense. It just seemed to logically make sense. But just from my own personal experience and what I've understood and experienced, it seems like the medical support train route for a member of the mental health community in a crisis can be as much as 70% of the time. More often, the medical support train is ideal. So for me, that time on November 19th, when that police officer gave me the chance and chose the medical route, it started really the good life for me. And I'm really grateful for that. And, police officers are the helping profession. When someone doesn't feel safe, law enforcement is called. And knowing when to make the right decision is obviously clutch and invaluable. But it seems like most of the time, getting a member of the mental health community on the medical support train is ideal. And just the last point is protect the mental health community. They're a more vulnerable subset of the community. Their brains are chemically, by definition, a little slightly different. And I'm just going to conclude with a quote and then one final comment. So this quote was referred to me by the executive director of my journey, Kyle Abbott, and it's by an educator and psychotherapist, Haim Ginott. And it's a little bit of a lengthy quote, but I'll read it. It's a good quote, fitting to the CIT focus. I've come to the frightening conclusion that I am the decisive element. It is my personal approach that creates the climate. It is my daily mood that makes the weather. I possess tremendous power to make life miserable or joyous. I can be a tool of torture or an instrument of inspiration. I can humiliate or humor, hurt or heal. In all situations, it is my response that decides whether a crisis is escalated or de-escalated, and a person is humanized or dehumanized. If we treat people as they are, we may make them worse. If we treat people as they ought to be, we help them become what they are capable of becoming. I really like that quote, and just the final comment here is, who knows if the next unstable, chaotic member of the mental health community right there on the scene at the crisis, a year later or shortly after recovery or reaching stability, becomes the next Vincent van Gogh. Van Gogh suffered from bipolar disorder quite severely, and actually in an asylum in Saint-Rémy, France, he painted one of the greatest paintings of all time as part of his recovery. He painted Starry Night, which is one of humankind's greatest paintings. And that was painted by a member of the mental health community in a way. So you have the capacity to give those destinies reality. And I thank you for your belief in one's capacity to fully recover and excel in life. And as law enforcement, you make the positive, pivotal choices. So thank you.